Welcome back, dear viewers. You're still watching The Breakfast Show live on Nile TV International. It's now time for our first topic of discussion for today. And we're going to be talking about the performance or the progress of Egypt's economy in light of the COVID-19 pandemic that has brought the whole world to a standstill, an unprecedented global emergency. And to shed more light on this topic, we're most delighted to be joined here in the studio by Dr. Zeinab Nawar, Professor of Economics. A very good morning, Dr. Zeinab, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. Good morning.
Doctor, first of all, how do you see the performance of the Egyptian economy amid the coronavirus outbreak?
Of course, the performance of the Egyptian economy was, we can say that it was good. Actually, a better performance in dealing with the crisis itself. In terms of a lot of initiatives, a lot of efforts from the Egyptian government to deal with the crisis. Several packages have been given from the government. We will talk about the 100 billion Egyptian pound that was mainly put for supporting a lot of sectors that have been harmed by the coronavirus. Also, the deferment that happened in terms of loans in banks, this is all was the last year. And of course, it has an effect even for this year. The payment that have been given to those who are working in we can say that they are working in informal sectors, so they needed some sort of support and help, and this was very important.
And those who don't have a sustainable
yes, and it was, and they had it several times. They have this amount of payment, which is 100 Egyptian pound. It's still it's a little amount, but it does support this segments of the population or the society. A lot of initiatives also have been done to support the economy. If we talk about the latest initiative by the President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi for the real estate, also to support the real estate sector, because part of the initiatives, maybe part of the thing that you are supporting a sector is by giving money through the government and from the budget, and this is what happened last year. But part of the support that is happening nowadays, it's through different initiatives. It's some sort of support also to the economy given by the central bank, where you are supporting the real estate sector, giving also housing with low interest rate, and also a long maturity and a long time for a repayment. So all of these types of supporting the economy, plus a lot of initiatives that have been occurred lately, plus a lot of support to the private sector also have been provided. So all of this, we'll see that it's like an inclusive package, that it includes a lot of dimensions to support the economy in dealing with the crisis.
Dr. Zeinab, the President had inaugurated several development projects. To what extent do you see these projects providing job opportunities and supporting the economy?
Of course, these projects, if you talk about the road projects and the tunnels and bridges projects, it's a very important project in terms of providing jobs, because you in this, or as a government in this project, you are creating jobs for a company, and the company will hire other sub-companies and subcontractors, and maybe we will have a series of subcontractors. And also the good thing about this project that lately, or not lately, from the beginning, you have to depend on 100% Egyptian manufacturer, 100% Egyptian products. So of course this will create more jobs for subsectors in different categories and in different sectors for construction work.
Yes. What about the rehabilitation of 1,500 villages as the first phase of reaching the most vulnerable and the rural areas, and witnessing a complete transformation, as President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has noted?
This initiative is an excellent initiative, because and especially for this time of coronavirus. First, for the initiative, of course, again, you are creating jobs for the contractors and subcontractors, number one. And the most important thing, that you are trying through this initiative to deal with the poverty in Egypt. And it's not about just reforming the houses. No, it's about how that you are going to work on the roads between poor villages,
Basic
doing
right,
a rehabilitation,
water, clean water, the
yes,
right to have
clean water, sanitation. You have a lot of villages here in Egypt that they don't have a proper sanitation services, and this creates a pollution, and this also affects the productivity of the agriculture in these villages.
Yes, and the
So,
health of the residents.
and of course, if they were going to have a clean water, if they're going to have sanitation services, health services, educational services to these poor places, proper roads to use and to move between different villages. This is also very important. And also part of the initiative that there will be committees, that they will have some sort of meetings in these villages asking people what are their needs in terms of projects, what they want to make their lives better. So all of these are very good and excellent initiative. Plus, part of the initiative also, it will be to deal with the irrigation tunnels and the problems of irrigation tunnels. You know, here in Egypt, we have a lot of issues in terms of pollution, in terms of sometimes the ends of these irrigation canals and tunnels are not working, affecting the productivity of the agricultural lands. So there will be some sort of construction work to be done with these irrigation canals, which is the Tera, to increase the productivity of agricultural lands in these poor villages. So hopefully that this initiative, of course, it will be expanded to the rest of the villages of Egypt, and hopefully it will bring a lot to the economy of Egypt.
And as the government noted,
term.
it's going to benefit 50 million Egyptians, which is of course a huge or a large
number. Of course, those who are living in the rural areas in Egypt. So it's a big
almost
number.
Half the population.
Yes, it's a big number, and they are lacking a lot of services. And we have also to work on the part of awareness for these people, that we would like to encourage them to help also in the sustainability of what is going to be done, and to preserve it. And if there is needs or proper needs, they have to tell what actually their needs, and to support the government in this initiative.
Yes, indeed, because after the government leaves, it's the people's duty to sustain what has been done for as much time as possible.
Yes, because it's very hard. Yes, there is a monitoring from the government, but if we talk about the central level and moving into the local level, if you are going to move deeper in Egypt, you will see that it's the existence more of the local level, more the central government. So it's the role of the people themselves
on the ground
to work on preserving what had been occurred, and also it's their role to tell truly what actually they need in terms of projects, and also to tell the right project that they do need. And this is very important, to have the voice of these people who are living in villages, to preserve and to sustain the resources.
Yes. Also, Dr. Zeinab, how do you see the President's efforts in achieving a notable economic development?
This is a very strong question, I will tell you. Yes, the President had achieving an economic development in a lot and in different multi-dimensions. If we are going to think about the health sector and the efforts that have been done, even for Corona, or even for the insurance, the program of insurance for the Egyptians. A lot of efforts have been done in education and building new universities, which is very good effort, and also all this type of reform that have been done to the education here in Egypt. For the economic part, if we talk about the economic reform that have been done in 2016, and how it helped us to have a solid fiscal performance in dealing with the COVID-19, encouraging the industrial sector, building more industrial zones and industrial clusters, reforming ports, huge projects for bridges and tunnels and roads. And this is actually what we need here in Egypt. It's the national road project, which is very important, linking
have a full network.
Of course, linking different parts of Egypt. If you are thinking about that, we want to place Egypt as a big logistic hub. So how we can just place Egypt in this area without having the proper roads, without having the proper ports, and the linkage between all of these types of transportation means. Enhancing the standards of living of the Egyptians through the initiative initiative of course, reforming the villages and working on the development of the Egyptian villages, especially the poor. So all of this, you'll see that different initiatives, a different effort that have been done by the president to achieve economic development. And it's not an easy task, achieving economic development in societies. It needs a lot and a hell of effort in different dimensions at a time.
Doctor, also a recent development project was announced by Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli about the renovation of Old Cairo and preserving the historic buildings, and also removing the slum areas that were that could be found in this historic area. Would this also have an impact on the economy?
Yes, of course, because when you preserve the history and historic places, of course, this will help if you are going to bring more tourists into the country. So you may use these places also for marketing, for more tourists coming into Egypt. This is number one. Number two, again, the slum areas here in Egypt, and it's a problem dealing with the slum areas, because people who are living in the slum areas, they are living in a terrible economic and social situations. So once the government is announcing that they're going to transfer and move these people from these slum areas into a better places with better services, again, water, sanitation, proper housing. So this means that you are transforming their lives and making their lives better. And this is actually part of the initiative that have been done also by the president, the development and the reform of the slum areas here in Egypt, which is very important.
Yes. Dr. Zeinab, also, how do you evaluate the current economic status of Egypt?
We are on the track. Even we have some of the consequences of COVID-19, and this is very normal. But we are on the track, doing a perfect job. We, as Egyptians, as government, succeeded to maintain this positive GDP growth. If you had read in any of the international reports, IMF or World Bank, they just kept saying that Egypt was one of the few countries that had maintained this positive economic growth. So, and of course, talking credit rating, but they're also mentioning this positive economic growth. So there were very few countries in the world. So this also tells something. And of course, the credit rating, maintaining the credit rating for Egypt, also this tells that we are okay and we are working on the right track. Still, we need to work on more reform in different areas. Still, we need to work on encouraging private sector to work more deeply, and also encouraging the small and medium enterprises in all of these initiatives, and also this law to encourage the small and medium enterprise. So we still have a lot to do, but we had achieved a lot actually.
Dr. Zeinab, let alone COVID-19, what are the major challenges currently facing the Egyptian economy, and how can we address them as an economic expert?
I'll tell you something, we cannot let COVID-19 apart. I will tell you why. Because I had read a lot about it. Still, the consequences of COVID-19, the world will be suffering the consequences for the year and the year after, and maybe for 4 or 5 years. Why? Because the international trade and all that happened in terms of export and import and all of the linkage, and even the politics and how that the U.S. now is trying to think of working on different hubs than depending on China. India and China started to have some sort of problems because of COVID-19. So there are still, we cannot put COVID-19 apart. COVID-19, unfortunately, is part of the story with us along a few coming years. But we are doing well, and we are working well. But what actually we need to work on is the industrialization, again, encouraging private sector, more exportation, because this is very important. If we'd like to be a giant economy, we are now putting, and we had done the basis for this, but if I would like to be one of the top countries worldwide, I need to work on the industrialization. I need to support and to push the Egyptian suppliers and manufacturers everywhere here in Egypt in different sectors. So this is, of course, industrialization, it includes different sectors. So this is I think this is the coming challenge for us. and we have to work on this, and we have to work on this heavily, and we want to take the chance of what is happening now, because there is some sort of you will say a case for on the international aspect, because countries now, they just had a shock and they're thinking what they will do. So why not Egypt would be one of the hubs that maybe the world that will depend on in future. So we want to grasp this opportunity.
Dr. Zeinab, I'd like to know your expectations for 2021. In terms of the economic progress, of course.
For Egypt.
Yes.
I see that we will going well for 2021. But if we had again another phase, and we don't know, maybe there will be another phase of COVID-19. This will affect our GDP growth. But I see that, I think if we just maintained, I see that we will maintain the same level of GDP growth, even for the 2021, because we still have some sort of negative consequences of COVID-19. But I see if there is no other phase of COVID-19, maybe our recovery will be better, and maybe we'll achieve higher GDP growth. But if we face with another phase if we face another phase of COVID-19, maybe we'll still keeping and maintain the same GDP.
But don't you think that, Doctor, with the start of the rolling out of the vaccinations, and we have already received 400,000, and according to the Minister of Health, that by the end of the month we might be receiving another 5 million doses. So don't you think that since after the start of the rolling out of the campaign for the vaccinations, the negative effects will dwindle down or will be minimized?
Of course, it will be minimized, but the question is to what extent this type of vaccine will be also efficient in dealing with, because on the medical side, I'm not a doctor, there is a lot of debate still for this, for the efficiency of this vaccination. Of course it will help. It will also help Egypt and other countries to recover and to just what we'll say, that minimize this type of unknown, because we have a lot of unknowns. So maybe it will just minimize a lot of unknowns, but we still don't know what will happen. We still have this type of being skeptic about the future, especially that on the international level, a lot of changes have been done. So we need just to watch and to watch carefully, and hoping for the better, and working for a better performance for different sectors, like the tourist sector, for example, that have been harmed a lot. We want, of course, are looking at that we will be better, but we have to watch carefully what's going to happen.
Yes. Dr. Zeinab, as we're wrapping up, I would like to listen to your closing or your final remarks.
Yes, my final remarks, and that I'm just hoping that we will, hopefully that for the world and also for Egypt and for the economic and social consequences of COVID-19, we don't want more negative things. We need for our country more of progress. We need to work more on industrialization and encouraging private sector, because this is the only powerful thing that we can maintain in dealing with any future crisis, because we don't know, even after COVID-19, what other problems maybe the world is going to bring to us.
Dr. Zeinab Nawar, Professor of Economics, really appreciate your insight, and thank you so much for being with us on The Breakfast Show. Have a great day.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And dear viewers, now we move on to a quick break, and then we'll be back to resume the remaining segments of The Breakfast Show live on Nile TV International.